What's up everyone, it's Andy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to do my reading wrap up for the month of April. In April, I read 15 books, gave 1 book 2 stars, 3 books 3 stars, 6 books 4 stars, and 5 books 5 stars. Based on those stats, it was a good reading month for me. I found some new favorites, hence the 5 5-star books. We've got a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. The first book I read in April was Obsidio, which is book 3 of the Illuminae files. So this story is told in a little bit of a different format, if you don't already know, in the form of like instant messages, surveillance camera footage, different drawings. This story made me laugh, made me cry. I was listening to the audiobook on my way to work one morning and a pretty traumatic scene happened. If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. I'm tearing up. I'm like, yeah, it's too early in the morning to be this emotional. Dang. I gave Obsidio 4 stars. Overall, just in general, I'm not personally too much into sci-fi, so this wasn't a 5-star series for me, but I really enjoyed it. The second book I finished was Phoenix Fire by S.D. Grimm. This was an arc that I received off of NetGalley. I found the premise interesting. I hadn't seen a fantasy that focused around phoenixes before, so that part was cool. But I gave this book 3 stars overall. I just didn't really care about the story that much. I wasn't like invested in the characters like I was hoping to be. This is the start to a new series, and I feel like I would have enjoyed the book a lot more if it had been a standalone and not just a big setup for more of the series. The third thing I finished was Meet Cute. It's an anthology that was edited by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This was really cute, for lack of a better word. It's basically an anthology of different stories by a lot of great YA authors that involve the meet cute, the 2 people that meet for the first time and then, you know, happily ever after. But these stories were just that snippet of when they first meet. My favorite stories from this anthology were Print Shop, Click, Somewhere That's Green, Oomph, which was, I think, my favorite, and then Something Real. I did give this anthology 4 stars. It's so hard to rate these things because some of them you really love, and there was a couple stories in here that I just didn't give a shit about. So next was The Woman in the Window by A.G. Finn. This is a psychological thriller involving a woman that's agoraphobic, so she watches her neighbors through her window. One day through her window, she sees her neighbor, one of her friends, get murdered by her husband. The whole rest of the story is nobody believing her. This was interesting because the narrator is so unreliable. She's an alcoholic and she's on a lot of different psychotropic drugs. The ending surprised me and it was good. It kept me interested. I wanted to know what happened. So I gave this book 4 stars. And also shout out to my friend Heather for telling me about this book. The 5th and 6th books I read were This Savage Song and Our Dark Duet by V.E. Schwab. In my 24-hour readathon, I read both of these books, and I talk more about them there. So I'll keep it short here. I gave both of these 5 stars. I love her writing. It was so lyrical and beautiful, as I mentioned in my vlog. And I'm so excited to read more of her. I love it. Give me more. The 7th book I finished was The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur. I also read this in my vlog, and as I said there, this was good. I gave it 4 stars. I think I liked Milk and Honey better. I don't know. I just don't know if I love Rupi Kaur as much as I thought I did. Next, I read We Should Hang Out Sometime by Josh Sundquist. So basically, this guy had cancer when he was little, and as a result had to have one of his legs amputated at the hip. The premise to this book is he's going back on his past relationships, trying to find out where they went wrong. Overall, I mean, some parts of it were cute. It was good. Like, I like him as a person. I listened to the audiobook and he narrates it, and that was good. Just overall, the story just wasn't that great. I mean, it's hard because it's his life, but It was just okay. I gave it 3 stars. Don't hate it, but I didn't love it. Next was Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I loved this book so much. This was my first ever Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I can't wait to read more of hers. I want to read maybe 1 or 2 more books of hers before I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I have down here on my shelf and I cannot wait to get to. This book kind of gave me like sliding doors kind of vibes. The main character's name is Hannah, and it takes a look at what would have happened if she had left with her former boyfriend from this club, or if she left with her friends. And it's so interesting. I like the parallel timelines. It didn't get confusing to me. This book was just really heartwarming and good. The friendship between Hannah and her best friend Gabby was so adorable. I loved it. And they had such a strong friendship. They were always there for each other. It was amazing. It was emotional. I laughed. I cried. I loved it. Next, I read Zodiac Star Force, a graphic novel. This is volume 1 called By the Power of Astra. I heard about this graphic novel by Allie over at Hardback Hoarder. If you don't know, if this is your first video of mine, I'm really into astrology, and so this caught my attention right away. The artwork is so colorful and beautiful. The story was good. I enjoyed the friendships, and I really liked the astrology aspects to it. For example, one of the characters is Taurus, and her special ability when they're fighting is her bull suit. It's just kind of funny and cute. I can't wait to read the second volume, and hopefully there's a Capricorn in there. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Too Fat, Too Slutty, Too Loud by Anne Helen Peterson. This is a collection of essays based on different women from pop culture. I did enjoy this and found it interesting. However, some parts I did find to be slow and pretty repetitive. I heard about this book from Mara over at Books Like Whoa. You should totally check her channel out. And hey girl, if you're watching, love you. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Not That I Could Tell by Jessica Strasser. Now, I did mention this book in my Life in Books tag. It does take place in a town near me, which was interesting and cool because I knew the areas that they were talking about. This is a thriller. A group of neighbors get together one night, hang out in the backyard, having some drinks, and the next morning, one of the neighbors and her 2 twin children are missing. The rest of the story is spent trying to figure out what happened. Some parts to this I found really slow and boring. The ending was kind of underwhelming to me. It was okay. I did give this 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Professed by Nicola Rendell. This was April's Book Hangover Book Club pick, which is hosted by Julie at Pages and Pens and Chelsea at Chelsea Darling Reads. And if by some chance you are watching me and don't follow those two, you definitely should. They're amazing. I love them. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. It's smut about a teacher and a professor, and for being smut, it was weak. There wasn't really that many sexy times. There was a lot of weird, awkward moments, and a lot of parts that just didn't need to be in there, and just bleh. 2 out of 5 stars. Next was The Summer of Jordi Perez by Amy Spalding. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed the plus size rep, the lesbian rep. It was cute and good, but I kind of was left wanting more out of it. I don't really enjoy people ending relationships for what I feel are stupid reasons, or they don't even talk about things and it's just like, oh, I'm done with you, and it's like, okay, this is kind of lame, and it was immature. I don't really enjoy that trope. And this book had that in it, so that's why I didn't give it 5 stars. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was good, cute. I love the representation, so that's why I gave it 4 out of 5. Finally, the last book I read in April was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. Now, this is a book that's written in prose. The author is a slam poet. I suggest that if you want to read this, you listen to the audiobook because it is narrated by the author. And hearing her read her own words and her background in slam poetry just made it so good. This book follows a teenage girl named Xiomara, and she's questioning the Catholic faith that she's been raised up in. It takes place in a tough time in her life where she's going through some growing pains. She's discovering boys and trying to navigate that with her religious family. I enjoy the fact that this tackled subjects such as slut shaming. It was very feminist. It was beautifully written. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend everyone read this. Alright, so that's everything I read in the month of April. If you want to, follow me on Goodreads. I keep it updated all the time and you can see my thoughts on things as I'm reading them. I'll link my Goodreads and Twitter down below. I have an exciting book review coming up for you guys here soon, so stay tuned to my channel for that. Until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!